Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. Thank you for stopping by the State of the NFL podcast. I ask that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is a channel where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the NFL. Hey, what's going on, sports fans? My name is TJ Jones, and welcome to another edition of the State of the NFL podcast. It's where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the National Football League. And before I get started, just like I always say, please hit the like and subscribe button to help the channel to grow. I would really appreciate that. On this edition, we're going to be talking about our final thoughts about week number 1. What are some of the hottest storylines and what teams are going to have to figure some things out? You know, I watched a lot of football this past weekend. There were a lot of really great games. I think we all can agree the Baltimore Ravens versus Buffalo Bills game stole the weekend until Monday night when J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings stole the show from even that game. But there were so many other storylines that we can choose from. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, the Dallas Cowboys are now 0-1. They lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. And, you know, there were a lot of mistakes by the Dallas Cowboys in the game. There were a lot of drop passes from very unusual suspects like CeeDee Lamb. But the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to figure some things out. They got rid of Michael Parsons, and with him, they have removed a really special player that can help them to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. You know, I thought that Jalen Hurts ran the ball way too much for my liking. He was able to scramble outside the pocket, and you didn't really see too many adjustments by defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. You know, you got to be able to put a spy on a guy like Jalen Hurts. It's already hard to kind of bring this guy down. You know, he has a very strong low center of gravity. And it was just the fact that they did not make the necessary adjustments defensively. I felt like that was very concerning. You know, offensively, I thought that Dak played pretty well. You know, he was able to get the ball out, but the playmakers have got to make plays. CeeDee Lamb, that was very uncharacteristic of him. Like, this is a guy that Dak is going to rely on. George Pickens, he has to keep his head in the game. You know, that boneheaded penalty that he had late in the game, you know, really cost the Dallas Cowboys. So they're going to have to figure some things out. Got to make the necessary adjustments. I don't think you have to write them off or anything like that, but they definitely got to play better on both sides of the football because the NFC East is wide open this season. And if you mess around and lose a few games, you might find yourself not being able to recover. Another team that I was very unimpressed with, that was the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions over the last few seasons have been one of the best teams in the entire NFL. Not just the NFC, but the NFL. Everybody was expecting them to take a step forward, right? I mean, you get to the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. You get the number 1 seed, get home field advantage. You lose to the Commanders, but everybody expects for the Detroit Lions to take that step. You know, Dan Campbell seems like he is finding his footing as a head coach, but it seems like they really miss Ben Johnson in this game. Now, if you look at it statistically, you'll look at Jared Goff, 31-39, you know, over 200 plus yards. You know, you look at this guy and you're like, man, you know what? You know, the offense didn't really look that bad, but the Green Bay Packers were able to do anything that they wanted to do throughout this game, and that's really concerning. The Detroit Lions are going to have to figure some things out. Now, I didn't expect for the offense to look the same way it did last season or the year before that with Ben Johnson. With him comes a lot of offensive innovation, and without him being in there, I mean, his playbook leaves with him. But the Detroit Lions are still a good football team. They have one of the best offensive line in football, a lot of really good playmakers. They got really good running backs. They're going to have to figure this thing out. Now, this is just one game, but it was a divisional game. So the Detroit Lions are going to have to put the foot on the gas, and hopefully in week 2, they have a better showing than what we've seen in week 1, because that is not the Detroit Lions that people have grown accustomed to seeing over the last couple of seasons. Looking at the game that I alluded to at the beginning of this podcast, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills. I was just like everybody else. When I seen the score 40-25 and Baltimore holding on to a 15-point lead, and it seemed like Derrick Henry was running all over Buffalo, and Lamar Jackson was killing them with the RPO game. Zay Flowers, the way that they lined him up, I mean, he was just carving up the defense of the Buffalo Bills. It just seemed like the game was pretty much over. But in this game, if you have Josh Allen maybe fifth on your top quarterbacks list, this is the game, in my opinion, that moved him into the top 2 position. Now, I still feel that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But Josh Allen, as of right now, I feel is number 2. It's not too many quarterbacks that are going to do what we seen Josh Allen do late in the fourth quarter. They could have easily just threw their hands up and surrendered. But Josh Allen had other things in mind. He put that team on his back. He put the ball into the hands of some capable receivers. They don't have, any household names, in my opinion. Not any guys that I feel like are going to be all pros anytime soon. But a bunch of capable wide receivers and a really capable running back in James Cook. And his legs, I'm talking Josh Allen, and he won them a damn football game. And also the defense. Shouts out to Ed Oliver. You had Derrick Henry running all over you all game long, averaging 9 yards a clip. And in the final moments of the game, you force a fumble on a guy who was just absolutely dominant. I mean, you look at the statistics of this game. I mean, you would look and be like, man, how did Baltimore lose this game? And that's a question that I have. How in the hell did the Baltimore Ravens lose this game? But John Harbaugh, I mean, he is in a very rare company. Matter of fact, he's all by himself because he has blown 17 double-digit second-half leads. So since 1991, he is responsible for 17 double-digit blown leads by his team. Now, you can look at this 2 ways. You can look at it like, man, John Harbaugh has been around long enough for this to happen. It's not like he's been a head coach with Baltimore for about 2 or 3 years or 4 years. This is a guy who's been around for a long time. But there are some very alarming issues with Baltimore not being able to close games. You got to be able to close games, especially the way they look. They're going to be a playoff team. And if you go into the playoffs, you want to go ahead and slam the door shut. When you have a team on the ropes, you got to finish them off. You can't be out there trying to showboat or giving it the old Sugar Ray Leonard windup. You got to go out there and knock them out. You cannot leave life in any team, and you definitely can't leave life in the Buffalo Bills. And finally, the Monday Night Football game, the Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings, a very exciting game. It didn't start off that way. It seemed like the Chicago Bears were going to have their way all night. I mean, Caleb Williams came out there throwing dimes to Rome Odunze and DJ Moore and scrambling around in the pocket. I mean, he was running. I mean, he was doing a lot of things and had Chicago fans excited. And it seemed like, man, we got our quarterback and we got our coach. But in the words of the great Lee Corso, not so fast. J.J. McCarthy started off the game looking like absolute slow. As a matter of fact, I was like, man, let me just go ahead and get this youngster a pass. This is his first game, starting, and he's going up against a Dennis Allen defense. Dennis Allen is a very credible defensive coordinator. I had Dennis Allen. I'm hyping him up, talking about he a top 3 defensive coordinator. And then all of a sudden, you had J.J. McCarthy throw a pick 6. You see his face. He's mad at himself. And then all of a sudden, the light comes on. And, I mean, he was firing on all cylinders. Facilitated a 4-quarter comeback for the ages. And the fact that this is his first game as an NFL quarterback, I got to say that I was extremely impressed. Now, I'm not ready to just dub him a franchise quarterback, but if you are a Minnesota Viking fan, you have to be extremely optimistic in what you saw in your quarterback, because Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer. He is going to get the best out of any quarterback that he coaches. And J.J. McCarthy, to me, he is a guy that never says die. And if you have a quarterback like that, well, you're already ahead of the curve. And also a credit to the Minnesota Vikings not giving up and staying in the game. Now, as far as the Chicago Bears, you can really see the body language of Ben Johnson. It seemed like he was extremely frustrated. I don't know what happened to Caleb Williams in the second half. I mean, he was abysmal. I mean, there was one pass where DJ Moore was wide open late in the game. He was all by himself. I mean, there was nobody around him. Well, there were two things around him, space and opportunity. He would have walked into the end zone. But Caleb Williams just sailed the ball over his head. You know, Caleb Williams has all of the tools to be a really great quarterback. But I'm extremely concerned at what I'm seeing from Caleb Williams. Now, he's one of those guys, he's a little eccentric, right? And he's one of those guys, to me, you'll tolerate as long as he's out there being productive. But if you are not going to finish games, people are going to turn on you and they're going to sour on you. And some of the behavior that you exude, people are going to be like, man, we don't need this we don't need this headache, right? And Ben Johnson seemed like he was extremely frustrated. Caleb Williams needs to stop trying to play hero ball. Sometimes I just think he does way too much. You got to take what the defense gives you, and you got to be able to put the team in a position to win. These guys believe in you. You don't want them to stop by feeling like you're doing way too much. The defensive performance in the second half by the Chicago Bears was awful. But this has been a calling card for defensive coordinator Dennis Allen for quite some time. Has a really good, solid performance through 3 quarters and can't shut the door, can't close the deal, right? He can get the interview, but he can't close the deal. They have got to find a way to close out games. You got to find a way to keep the offense rolling outside of the 15 scripted plays. And if you can do that, then you can find yourself being a contender in the North. I'm not ready to write off the Chicago Bears, but let's try to stay away from the hero ball, Caleb, and just focus on taking what the defense gives you so you can put your team in the best position to win.